Alright, YouTube, here I am again. Long time no ride. Kind of crazy how long it's been since I've done a video. I appreciate all of the feedback that you have given me over these months, and really we're talking years now. It's really nice to see that you've learned a lot and that you appreciate the time that I spent, you know, going out and doing a little riding and talking about what I've learned over the years. So anyway, I always promised that I would do a riding in traffic video for you, and I hadn't done that yet. Actually, I take that back. I did it about 3 months ago, but then my battery died about halfway through. So I got a new battery in this thing, and it should last for the entire length of this ride. And so anyway, what we're gonna do is just go for a little ride in traffic today. It's a pretty day. It's fall here in Athens, Georgia. The sun is shining, the leaves are changing, so it's a beautiful time of the year to ride here. But I'm gonna get gas here in just a second because I'm getting a little on the low side, and I don't want that gas light to come in on the middle of this video. And after that, we are gonna head out and learn a few things. All right, everybody, let's go out and take a little ride here. What I'm gonna do is just kind of follow the same format I have in the past videos. I'm gonna talk you through what I'm doing, talk you through what I'm looking at, and just give you an idea of things that you can focus on when you're out and about in traffic. Certainly, I don't enjoy riding in traffic. It's probably one of my least favorite places to ride, just because it's just not a whole lot of fun, right? There's cars all around you. Increasingly, people are on their phones, texting and Snapchatting and doing all that nonsense, and essentially not paying attention to the road, which makes it more dangerous for you. It's kind of like there's just drunks on the road all the time now, except for, you know, maybe times of the day where there's just not many people out. So anyway, let's look at some strategies to keep you safe around cars. You always want to give yourself a lot of space between you and the car in front, and you want to check your surroundings, head check your surroundings a lot. But perhaps the most important thing that I could tell you, and that I'll try to reiterate, is you almost want to treat it like a video game. You have to anticipate what cars are likely to do in certain road conditions. So for instance, there's road work coming up here. Does that mean one of the lanes is going to merge into the other? Is there going to be a lane closure? If so, you need to be aware that cars are going to be merging. And if they're going to be merging into your lane, you don't want to be right next to them because they might not see you. So you got to give them space. So if I were to see a sign up ahead that says right lane merging into my lane, I would think that this Cadillac is going to merge, and I would give them plenty of space. And if I was right next to them, I would either get up in front of them or fall back behind them. I wouldn't ride alongside them because they might not see you, and you know they're going to have to come over. Other things to anticipate: cars making left-hand turns, cars making right-hand turns, cars cutting across multiple lanes of traffic to make their turns. So for instance, I know here this is a very common left-hand turn, so I'm going to be very aware of cars pulling out of side streets back there and trying to cut across all the traffic to make that left-hand turn, because there's not a good place to do it after this. Of course, that's not going to help you as much when you're riding in unfamiliar surroundings, but when you're riding in your normal day-to-day neighborhood and city streets that you're used to, you'll start to get a sense of what's around you and where traffic patterns are the most dangerous. When I come to a stop, I always am checking my mirrors to make sure the person behind me is coming to a stop. Once that person is stopped, I feel pretty safe. because if somebody were to slam into the back of them, at least they would create a bit of a buffer. Maybe they would get pushed into me, but not as violent as if there was nobody behind me. Also, as far as the car in front of me, I'm not going to stop right on their bumper. When I'm in a car and a motorcyclist comes up and stops what seems like 6 inches from my back bumper, it annoys me, and I'm a motorcyclist. So you can imagine how people feel that don't ride motorcycles. They really probably get annoyed, and it doesn't help the perception of motorcyclists very much. Typically, when I'm riding in traffic, I stay in the left-hand lane, left-hand side of the lane when I'm in the fast lane of traffic. And when I'm in the slow lane, it depends. And what do I mean by that? Well, I kind of have to get a sense of who's in front of me, who's behind me, if there's going to be people turning out from side streets, that type of thing. And so sometimes I'll weave over to the right-hand side to get a glimpse way up ahead, to look at side streets. And sometimes I'll get in the left-hand lane. Like this guy right here, I'm going to assume that he might merge over at any time. I really don't like to ride right next to cars. So like this car here, I'm going to get past him, then slow back down to the speed limit. Also, I always stay in the left-hand lane. One thing I disagree with the MSF, and I'm sure some of you all might think the MSF is the gospel, but one thing I disagree with is they always say to protect your lane. And I don't agree with that now because people swerve, merge, they're on their phones. The MSF was created back in the day when there weren't cell phones. Perhaps they've updated the entry-level course since then. I'm not sure. I haven't taken it in so long. But you have to assume that people are going to be coming into your lane without any real warning. And if I'm protecting my lane, let's say I'm right here, and there's a car right next to me, and they start to come over, I have almost zero reaction time to swerve over and do something about it. If I'm over here, and I see them start to come over on me, and vice versa, if I'm in the slow lane and they're in the fast lane, then I've got a bit of time to swerve, brake, accelerate, honk my horn, or a combination of all of those things. And so that is why I'm not a big believer in protecting your lane and staying kind of close to the car next to you. In my opinion, you want to give yourself a fair amount of room. So I'm checking my mirror. This person's coming to a stop, so they see me okay, so I'm good. When I'm at a light, I generally leave it in gear, ready to go. If I'm checking my mirror and there is nobody behind me and there's a car coming up pretty quickly, so maybe they're looking down at their phone, they haven't seen that we've all come to a stop, I'm going to be looking at them and I'm going to be making sure they slow down. And once they reach the point where I think, uh-oh, I don't know if they're going to slow down in time, I'm going to look for my out. And that's another reason why you want to leave some room between you and the car in front of you. If you don't leave any room, you don't have an out, right? You can't get around the car because you're too close to the back of the car. If you leave some room and you see somebody coming up behind you that could possibly not be paying attention and might run into the back of you, and if you search on YouTube, those videos are everywhere and they're scary as hell. If that is a possibility, then if my bike is in gear and I see him coming, I'm going to let out the clutch quickly, accelerate, and maybe squirt over to the left of the car in front of me, into the median, into the hashed kind of median lane that's open, or maybe into just the shoulder, if that's all I've got. That's the nice thing about a motorcycle. I've got enough room, usually, to maneuver my bike. Much more room than a car would. Alright, so I'm going to head check, and I'm going to come out, go around this person. Am I going to do it in this lane? No, this is way too close. I'm going to come over here and give them space. Alright, so this is a pretty typical urban situation here, and that it's 3, 4, 6, 7 lanes of traffic essentially, and I'm in the middle of the 3 lanes heading this direction, plus there's a turn lane. So now I've got I've got issues all around me, essentially. I've got left-hand traffic that could merge into me. I've got right-hand traffic that could merge into me. I've got cars in front of me and behind me. It's a lot of things that I have to be thinking about. And if you're off in La La Land, you're putting yourself at risk. Notice here I've moved over to the right-hand lane to create space between myself and that SUV. After I get past them safely and they're no longer next to me, I'll move over to the left-hand lane. See that car that was pulling out right then? Maybe they pull across the right-hand lane towards the middle lane. I need to give them space. It's all about spacing, increasing your reaction time, and anticipating what cars might do. Right here, danger, people pulling out from side streets, possibly pulling out between cars. So you don't want to fly past all this stop traffic. Somebody could be nudging out. Somebody might not see you and just goose it. And then suddenly you're going to hit them broadside at 20, 30 miles an hour. It'll be a bad day for you. So when you're coming across stop traffic like that, you slow down, you cover your brake, you anticipate what could happen. You have to kind of guess what a car is going to do before they even decide to do it. So in some ways you could think of it as kind of fun. Right here, classic situation. If I was up closer to them, one of those cars could have whipped out to go around that car that was turning right and not have checked their mirrors very well and whipped out right in front of me. So I have to anticipate it. All right, I caught the yellow light. Classic situation where somebody could be coming back on me. So I'm going to be checking my mirror. If they're coming up on me, I'm going to go through the intersection because these cars are not moving nearly as fast as maybe somebody coming up on me at 40 miles an hour. So again, it's a game of numbers. It's a game of minimizing your risk. It's a game of anticipating what traffic is going to do. And that game leads to increasing your odds of survival. And I've talked to y'all in the past about statistics. If you watch my first video and the types of accidents, and certainly a left-hand turn like this white SUV, left-hand turn in front of you in traffic is the most dangerous situation. It's the most common deadly accident for a motorcyclist because they don't see you. And so I do something that I think it's got a name now. I saw it in one of the motorcycle forums. I can't remember it, but essentially what I do, and I've been doing this ever since I started riding, is I will weave back and forth if I think there's a chance somebody's going to pull in front of me. And so we'll probably get to that scenario here in just a little bit. Let's see what we come across. Here, once this light changes, I'm going to accelerate away kind of quickly. I've got open road in front of me. I've got tons and tons of traffic all around me. Essentially, each one of these cages around me I treat as hazardous to my health. I don't want them near me. They're doing nothing for me, so I'm going to get away from them. There is one exception to that rule as far as cages around you and how they might be able to protect you, and that is in the situation of left-hand turns. If a car, an oncoming car, is about to make a left-hand turn across traffic in front of you, if you're by yourself, they're less likely to see you. If you have lots of cars around you, they're more likely to see those cars and not make the turn. So it's kind of like they're blocking traffic for you. So I'm accelerating away, and now I'm kind of doing the speed limit, maybe just a little above. That's okay. I'm going to get all the way over. I don't like being in the middle lane too much. See, here's a left-hand turner. I'm going to weave. I'm by myself. I have no protection. It's me and him. He's got to see me. When I weave, a lot of times I'll cover the brake too. Because if he starts to make that turn and he does it right before I get there, I've got pretty much zero reaction time. That's bad, bad news because we've got closing speeds of 80 plus. I know my lane's going to end here, so I'm coming over, checking my mirror. But if I had a car in my left lane right now, I would be really keeping an eye on them because they are going to be like, oh crap, I don't want to turn left here. I need to go straight. They're going to merge over onto me. All right, so that guy's in a hurry. I'll just let him go. That's the other thing that can get you in trouble on a public road. I've got somebody coming up fast behind me, so I'll let him by. And that's if you don't like to be passed. You don't want other cars going past you. And so you go faster than you should be going because you want to be in first, essentially. That type of thinking is not a smart way to think when you're in traffic. It's not a race. You just want to get to wherever you're going, and you want to do it safely. So this situation here is classic. There's a lot of reduced sight lines with buildings, trees, etc. Lots of side streets, lots of cars that could be pulling out from either direction. So you have to constantly be looking to make sure that nobody is starting to pull out. I mentioned this in my first video, but it's worth mentioning again. What I will typically do when it comes to, and again, checking my mirror, I have an out here. I would just squirt right there in between those two cars if somebody was coming up fast behind me. But just lost my train of thought. Yeah, when cars are pulling out from side streets, my eyes dart between the face of the driver and the front wheel of the car. And that's how I can tell. Just because they are looking at you doesn't mean they see you. So that's why I also look at the front wheel of the car. So if they're looking at you, you could feel a little better about the situation. Chances are they see you, especially if you're visible. I ride with my high beams on all the time. I try to weave if I feel like I am vulnerable. But they don't always see you. And so that's why you also are looking at the front wheel of their car. Because if it starts to move, that means they're releasing the brake, they're rolling forward, they might be about to pull out, and that's the point where I cover my brake and probably start to brake actually. A lot of times I'll actually start braking, even if I have the right of way and there's no stoplight ahead. So I've got somebody right on my ass right now. I've got this car here. Notice I'm not right next to him. I'm just going to assume essentially that everybody is on their cell phone. That is the assumption, because almost everybody is nowadays if you think about it. And so if I assume they're on their cell phone, I'm going to basically make the assumption that they could come over on me at any time. So we're getting into some stop and go downtown. Typically, even though the density of cars is high in a downtown environment, the chances of a deadly collision are pretty low because there's so many lights and the traffic is moving so slowly. So I usually feel even better if I'm out riding in this type of environment than I do in the higher speed, more suburban roads. All right, so here I can't really do a whole lot. Just keep checking my mirrors, give these people space. Just note that I am in traffic and I'm not going to be in any hurry. I'm not going to start splitting through people, even though I wish I could. Back when I rode out in California, the lane splitting was certainly nice. All right, so I'm going to go on out and around these people because they're kind of backed up. This guy could turn left. Notice how I just kind of rolled off the throttle, just rolling through that intersection really slowly. This car here, probably not going to turn left. There's lots of cars around me, so they kind of create a buffer for me. But I'm sure not going to go through the intersection real fast. I'm going to make the assumption that they might turn across, that they might not be paying attention. So this is UGA campus here, lots of college students, lots of younger drivers that are with their friends and not paying attention. So again, I've got to be real cognizant of that. The good thing is the scenery in this part is not bad. So that's the trade-off for sitting in traffic right now. And it's kind of warm actually. It's an unseasonably warm day here in Athens considering it's middle of October. All right, so once we get out of here, we're going to get on the loop, which is essentially an interstate, and that'll give you a chance to kind of see the way I approach things in that type of traffic. I don't have anybody behind me, so I'm continuing to check my mirrors. But again, downtown, typically people are moving more slowly, so I'm not quite as nervous in traffic downtown. Perhaps the biggest risk down here would be somebody backing out of a space or something and not seeing me. So I'm not going to fly through here. I'll see motorcyclists do it sometimes, and it's really not smart at all. to do that. I kind of want to take a right here, so I'm going to see if I can get over. Let's see if it's going to let me over. Yep. Here we go. Going to get out of downtown. Going through an intersection, I'm always checking every direction. Make sure somebody's not making a right turn without seeing me or something. Pedestrians in large cities, you definitely want to be aware of. Here, this is danger, danger. Why? Because I just sort of went around kind of a blind curve into stopped traffic. This is a very dangerous thing in the mountains or on higher speed roads. So I am just staring at my mirror right now. And here comes a truck, and fortunately he sees me, so I'm okay. But that is a situation where you should be on high alert. When you come around a curve to stop traffic, you stop, but you give yourself room. Did you see how far I left between myself and this Lexus in front of me? I left 3 car lengths, at least. That gave me a lot of space, so if somebody was flying around that curve, I could immediately accelerate hard and then decide if I needed to go to the left or the right of this sedan. Again, leaving myself an out. In the mountains, I've seen it a lot too. Curvy roads, you come around a curvy road and somebody's pulling in a driveway, pulling out of a driveway, there's construction. And so that type of stop traffic when people are kind of enjoying themselves and going really, really fast through the mountains is a recipe for a real dangerous situation. So there's a lot of serendipity when I do these videos. Obviously I can't anticipate traffic conditions when I leave my house. I just have to kind of take whatever's given me. But fortunately we've seen a fair number of, I guess dangerous situations, things that could go badly if these conditions were right. And so it's allowing me to kind of talk to you about these things. So again, I'm in the left-hand part of this lane right now, so I have a good sight line way up ahead. I can see what traffic's doing. I got people merging over. This car here, not going to be right next to them because they might have just pulled out on this road and they might need to make a left-hand turn coming up. So I'm going to give them space. Now they're having to stop. They might whip around that car. I'm giving them space, right? That's what you want to do. You don't want to be an a-hole to people and cut them off because it's endangering you. At the end of the day, who cares if you feel a little better about yourself? Like, oh yeah, I won that battle. No, you're not going to win battles for your entire riding career if you ride that way. Eventually, and now here we go, dangerous situation. I'm weaving, not really on the gas. I had somebody pulling out of a side street and somebody making a left-hand turn, and I really didn't have any cars around me. So it was just me and me hoping that they saw me. All right, so we got traffic stopping here. I'm checking my mirrors, leaving myself an out. I would go to the right here if they were coming up fast and just kind of squeeze right between this car. So this stuff, you process it really fast. You've got to be sharp to ride a motorcycle. You can't be mentally slow if you want to safely ride. Eventually, statistics might catch up to you. So now I'm kind of actually over on the right because I'm going to be making a right-hand turn. So I've gone ahead and moved on over here. I've got good sight lines up the right-hand side. I can see if people are going to be pulling out or stopping. And I'm just going to follow this car onto the loop where the speeds will be higher. Usually this is kind of the fun part of city riding because I can get on it some, but not so much here. These cars are a little slow today. But you'll notice here the speeds are getting a little higher. Statistically, riding on interstates is actually going to be safer. You don't have people turning left in front of you. You don't have people stopping to pull into driveways or stores. So you've got less of that interference and less of those situations that are going to arise. But of course, the speeds are much higher. And so if a mistake is made, then the consequences are going to be much more serious. I think you could ask anybody and they'd rather get off their bike at 40 or 30 miles an hour than at 60 to 70 to 80 miles an hour. So, and especially with fast cars moving around them. What am I going to do here? I'm going to move over a little just in case there was somebody in this truck and they were trying to pull out and merge. Then I'm going to move back because I've got somebody coming up behind me that's in a hurry. I've got merging traffic here. Now I've got to look at who's on my left, make sure I leave space. So there they come. I've got space. So now I'm going to come over, give them space, and I'm going to go all the way to the left. That gives me maximum reaction time in case they're just a bonehead and they're not paying any attention and they decide, I want to come onto the interstate and I want to come across all the lanes of traffic into the fast lane right away. I see that happen quite often, especially in really urban environments when people are in a hurry to go places. All these other cars, I'll go the speed limit or a little above, but then when I'm passing them, a lot of times I'll go past them kind of quick. Like, I don't want to be in this guy's blind spot, so I'm going to just zoom past him. Then I'm going to slow back down. In all my years and hundreds of thousands of miles of riding, I've never gotten a ticket doing that. Yes, I exceed the speed limit for a little bit, but I slow back down again. So it's not like I'm just hauling ass everywhere. So now, what am I doing? I'm kind of staying in the left-hand lane. Why is that? Because there's woods here. And the rut is going on, which is, for those that don't know, we've got a lot of deer in the southeast United States. And they like to just jump out of nowhere, right across traffic, at almost any time of the day in November, October, December-ish time. So I'm giving myself a little bit of time and buffering myself from the woods a little bit. I've got traffic to contend with as well, but as I said in my first video, in a lot of ways I'm more afraid of deer than I am of cars. I can see cars coming. I can't see deer coming out of a tree right now at 70 miles an hour. It's much harder to do. So that's why I try to increase my reaction time by staying to the left. Alright, so here's my exit. These are always kind of fun. I'm sure those in flatlands love these a lot. It's how you could scrub off your chicken strips. Fortunately, I've got the mountains to go to for mine. Not that I've been in a while. I've got 2 little kids, so they occupy a lot of my time. But these are still fun. And now I'm gonna have to slow down. I'm coming up on traffic pretty quickly. And here we go. Now I've been velocitized. Have you ever heard that term? Where everything feels like you're going really, really slow after you've been on the interstate. This person got a weave. So my speed feels like I'm crawling now because these speeds are much slower than the interstate. So I just got to keep that in mind. Really sitting back a ways from this van in front of me. Now that I'm thinking about it, let me reiterate another thing that I talked about in my first video. I see this happen all the time with motorcyclists. It drives me crazy because it's so dangerous. But you do not want to follow a car or a truck or any type of vehicle directly behind them. I'm going to do it right now just to show you because it's slow speed. You don't want to follow people like this. This is stupid, 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 stupid. if I was going 40, 50, 60 miles an hour, there is no way I can react to something that van straddles. So there might be a piece of tire, a dead armadillo, who knows, in the middle of the road, and they don't have room to swerve around it, so they straddle it. And when they straddle it, if I'm right behind them and I'm going 50 miles an hour, the dead center of the lane, I'm gonna hit it. And if it's something like an armadillo, it's probably gonna knock me off the bike. I'm gonna go into some type of crazy tank slapper and I'm gone. And then I'm gonna hope the cars behind me don't run over me. So I can't tell you, I mean, that's, if you learn nothing from this video, if you do that, don't do it anymore. It just doesn't make any sense at all. Stay in the right-hand lane, which I'm doing right now to create space between me and all of these cars coming past me. Or, if you don't have any cars coming past you, stay in the left-hand lane so you have good sight lines and you've got as much room to weave on both sides of the road. So I'm going to stay here in the right-hand lane for a while because I'm in the slow lane obviously, and things are moving pretty slowly. I'm hanging way back from this Volvo. Now I'm sure some of you are watching this right now and you live in New York or LA or New Delhi or who knows, and you're like, there is no way in hell I could stay this far back from a car in front of me in the traffic that I ride in, because cars will just start pulling right in front of you and closing that gap. I totally get that. I've ridden in those situations. You do what you can do. You adapt. So if you're gonna constantly have people cutting you off and getting right in front of you, then you might not have this luxury, right? You might just have to ride even more alertly and anticipating things. But when you do have this luxury, take advantage of it. All right, so I'm gonna turn here. Nobody's turning in front of me. So anyway, now I'm back on quieter roads. There's still some traffic, not bad. Right-hand side till the cars pass. Come back over to the left. Is this guy on his cell phone? Maybe. Gonna get on the right-hand side, give him some room. Back on the left. Is this car in their cell phone? Probably. Over here, because they might be texting. They might start to come over the yellow line. I need to give them space so I can react. Usually they have enough time to react and correct themselves if you've got some space. If I was riding like this, I've got zero out, basically. They might come over and hit me, and I've got no time to react. This gives me reaction time. Well, all right, so have I hit everything when it comes to traffic? No. But I hope I gave you some ideas and some things to think about. Hope you enjoyed this video. Checking my mirror as I turn, make sure they're not running up on me. And looking forward to your feedback. I have not been riding as much lately because, again, I've got a couple kids. They keep me occupied. I'm enjoying them at this age. I know later on in life, I won't be cool anymore. They'll have their friends that they go hang out with, and I'll be on the road a lot again. But right now, not as much, but I still like to get out on these pretty days, and I'm really glad that I'm able to share some knowledge with you all. So anyway, you all ride safe, enjoy your fall. For those of you in the Southern Hemisphere, enjoy the coming spring, and hope you all learned something from this. Take care.